6 months before to my near-death experience, I had a bizarre dream incorporating religious symbols. My family was generally agnostic, so I grew up with little religious affiliation or influence, and the dream's contents felt weird given my atheism at the time. When I experienced my NDE, I received an unexpected realization regarding the dream's premonitory nature. In my dream, I perched on a branch of an ancient oak tree, watching the waves crash onto a deserted beach. A huge forest stretched behind me. The vista was pristine and had an indescribably ancient vibe, as if it had existed before civilization and had never been touched by humans. I glanced at my body in surprise, as I was used to having first-person dreams. Surprisingly, I wasn't a person. Instead, I was a small red bird resembling a cardinal. My ex-boyfriend was also a bird, and we were sitting beside each other. As we watched the tides rise, he pointed out the approaching waves, speculating that it was high tide. One particular wave was steadily increasing. I felt as if a switch had been flipped inside of me. It was almost mechanical, and I sprung into action. At that moment, my mind almost left my body. Looking down at myself from above, I noticed familiar features. Instead of being in sync with my physical self's ideals, I found myself perplexed by my own actions. I saw myself plucking branches off the tree I was sitting on and constructing what appeared to be a homemade life raft. At that instant, I realized that a tsunami, not just any tide, was on its way. My lover urged me to explain my actions and intentions as I launched this primordial survival attempt. Something about his cry that we needed to flee got under my skin. Just before the tsunami was going to smash the coast, I tied my partner and myself to the raft. As the wave washed away everything in its path, our vision was suddenly filled with nothing but the infinite ocean. I began rowing the raft with a strong sense of urgency, perplexing both my beloved and myself. I persisted in ignoring his frequent requests for clarity. The big blue sky and ocean stretched out before us. Despite my passionate rowing, the raft banged into a wall. I began to realize that the image in front of me was a painting on the wall. It was almost identical to the last scene from The Truman Show. As I moved my gaze to the wall, I saw a system resembling a ladder, as if it were inviting me to climb and find its secrets. I attempted to climb this 13-rung metal ladder using my legs, but it just wouldn't work. My boyfriend waited behind as I began my climb. Because I could only use my arms to ascend the ladder, it proved to be extremely difficult. My body was transforming into a human form, yet as I climbed, the weight of the world seemed to vanish. As I climbed the final few steps, I felt as if I were flying over the edge. By the time I reached the summit, the view had already been greatly distorted by the dense fog, and a blinding white light filled the entire region. The light was bright but not painful, and it obscured my eyesight for at least 10 or 15 meters. Pretty white flowers adorned the elliptical trellis, which was the only item visible. My awareness returned to my physical form, and my point of view changed back to first person. It was only natural that I wanted to investigate the area beyond the fog, so I went for a walk beneath the trellis. As I approached the structure, someone appeared out of the gloom and approached me from behind. The elderly man stood around 5 feet 11 inches tall and wore a long crimson robe, holding a wooden staff in his right hand. He wore a long white beard. He approached me with elegance, and just as I was about to reach the trellis, he laid his staff on my chest to stop me. Curious, I stared at him and asked why he had stopped me. His response left me with 4 words: "You're not ready yet." My perplexity prompted me to question about his meaning. He went on to remark, "You're just not ready yet." After that, he returned in the same direction he had come. My buddy abruptly pushed himself off the cliff. Unlike me, he did not appear to sense the same weightlessness that I did during my journey. Before disappearing into the gloom, he caught the man's final glance. "Who was the gentleman?" he asked me. "I don't know," I replied. He questioned why I hadn't taken the other road, pointing to the trellis. I informed him that I was unable to cross the threshold. "Why not?" he asked me. When he inquired if I was ready, I told him that the man had told me no. I awoke from my dream after that. I was perplexed when I woke up, especially since the dream had nothing to do with religion. I didn't care if I believed or not. The man standing before me was clearly a divine person. This conclusion was fairly evident. Also, even though I'm not familiar with religious books, aspects of my dream were quite symbolic. This dream was more powerful and lifelike than the others, but I had no idea about the relevance of this data or the figure's claim that I wasn't ready yet. I filed away this dream since I didn't comprehend what it meant. 6 months later, all of the parts came together. I had a dream that predicted my near-death experience. My near-death experience started with a heart attack. My chest hurt so much, and my arms and legs felt numb. It began at the extremities and moved its way to my core. As my awareness moved towards the ceiling, I began to feel like I was flying. I felt sad for my injured body as I stared down at it. A sudden burst of golden light flooded the room. As I passed through a tunnel, I became aware of the cosmic secrets surrounding my location on this planet. Despite my overpowering sense of comprehension, words were insufficient to express this knowledge. Obtaining this understanding gave me a tremendous sense of tranquility and serenity inside myself. I unexpectedly had a life review. Every tiny event in my life flashed before my eyes. It unfurled in front of my eyes, much like a movie on screen. The experience was characterized by a sense of both immediacy and immensity. This sensation of dualism pervaded every aspect of it. I witnessed the life review progress not only from the past to the present, but also from the present back into the past. I relived every scene as it happened in real time, observing everything from the third-person perspective. From the beginning of my existence until now, I've experienced a wide spectrum of emotions: joy, grief, love, anger, peace, anxiety, and so on, in an infinite cycle. Returning to occasions when another person emotionally harmed me was the most influential component of this experience. Those times made me experience every single emotion. Not only mine, but also those of the person who was hurting me. Furthermore, I sensed every emotion that the other person had experienced before to that moment. As a result, I now have a far greater knowledge of the most agonizing agony I've ever had, and I'm much more sensitive and forgiving. I couldn't reasonably come away from this interaction with a complete comprehension of their personal history or a comprehensive awareness of the circumstances surrounding their background. However, I felt like I had a greater understanding of the mental and emotional state that pushed them to do such horrific things. Furthermore, I discovered that my actions could unintentionally affect other people's feelings. For the first time, I understood how someone else's story could paint me as an antagonist. Everything fell into place right then. Peace, compassion, and empathy welled up within of me as a result of the invaluable lessons I acquired from these encounters. Without a doubt, I recognized that every event has a purpose and has a predefined order. The unexplainable sense of comprehension and lessons learned from this encounter stayed with me long after I had returned home. The dream character's message that I wasn't ready yet made sense to me as well. This finishes our look at today's experience. Please leave a comment telling me what you think. Take care, and may you be showered with blessings till our next video.